Your marks will be good track uphill. You are P6 on the lap time chart. Good job.
That pace. That pace. The green flag. Go, 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 go. You'll need another tenth, you. You'll need another tenth of a second. Let's go.
And there's this huge rush of euphoria, you know, at doing this sort of thing. Maybe that's crazy. A lot of people say it is, but that is a feeling that you get from it. You know, pushing that limit and just seeing how well you can execute it, knowing that the consequences can be severe.
Good job. Good job. Good job, Mr. Brown.
Welcome to scenic Virginia International Raceway, a challenging 3.2-mile ribbon of asphalt that produces great racing action. We're here for the Atlantic Championship Series. Let's get started.
Why do you do this? Why do you race?
Because it's cheaper than having a girlfriend and my wife. No, I'm just kidding. You definitely have to edit that out. That's going in there, baby.
I think what's unique about open wheel racing is there's only one purpose for that car. It's a race car. And there's no doubt about it. You can't go get groceries.
I've always been around fast cars, fast motorcycles. A buddy of mine, I was looking for a trailer. He found a trailer, but he said, there's a race car inside. And I said, well, I don't want a race car. He said, yeah, you can always sell a race car and you have a free trailer. Made sense, right? Makes sense. Well, guess what? I kept the race car and the rest is history.
It's an absolute thrill. It's definitely my happiest place in the whole world is behind the wheel of a race car.
You basically pull out of the paddock and you stop breathing for about 30 minutes and then you get out. That's about what it comes down to. It's the most exciting thing you could ever do. It never gets boring, I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I love it. It's definitely the adrenaline I was looking for. So.
My favorite track that I started racing cars at was Waterford Hills, just outside of Pontiac, Michigan. And I started racing there in 1965 with our only family car, an Austin Healey Sprite. We would drive it to the track, I'd take the windshield off and go racing and hope I didn't wreck it, so we had a ride home. When you go to a race, you're always a little bit nervous, you're always a little apprehensive. Am I still going to be okay? But what I found is when I get to the track and I get in the car, it takes me a little longer than it used to get up to speed, but eventually I get going pretty good. At the end of a race weekend, one of my faster laps will be towards the end of the weekend, so I'm not to the point yet where I'm getting real overly tired in the cars. You know, if you feel confident and comfortable, then why not keep doing it?
It's high adrenaline, it's competitive, there's great camaraderie on the track. The machines are far greater ability than most of the drivers. They're highly engineered, highly technical. It requires you to be sound, mind, body, spirit. Everything needs to be in sync to be competitive, and it's just a lot of fun.
It's a mental exercise.
An average human has 15 to 20 frames per second they process through their eyes. That causes a reaction or an action in the rest of their body parts. You can have up to 300 to 400 frames a second on the racetrack. So it means you have to drive with your eyes way up and anticipate everything. And you get into a rhythm or a flow. You get to know the track, you get to know the car, how the car behaves on the track.
And then you also have the situation when you're racing with other people. It's a little bit of a kind of a rolling chess game of you're watching where your momentum might be a little better than somebody else's and where you'd have an opportunity to get around somebody. So you have the physical aspect and the mental aspect of it, which I still find very challenging and very interesting.
So it has a huge effect on your body. I feel some days, not anymore, but early on I felt like somebody was in there in the middle of the night moving my organs around, right? Your neck is incredibly sore, but I don't have that anymore. You get to be a certain age, you don't have any feelings anymore anyway, so that's how that works.
My name is David Grant.
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Okay, go.
Okay, my name is David Grant.
Okay, cut. We're done with these guys.
we work together. We live next door to each other, so we're constantly we're partners in business together. So we're always in competition, and this is our outlet.
I just beat the crap out of him growing up. So he's younger. So
he says he's going to beat you out there.
Yeah, we'll see.
We've gotten into each other every once in a while, but it's rare. So
it's the only thing that makes me forget about everything else when I'm in the car. So you can, it's just a way to kind of get away from everything and concentrate on something other than work or anything else that I got going on.
Trying to be as perfect every lap as you can. That's the key thing. It's consistency that makes you win. It's not one lap. It's consistently hitting the fastest, hitting your points every single turn.
Track time and evaluating your driving, overlaying data with David, and the two of us comparing who's faster and where, and also looking at videos with our driver coach and going through that with him and analyzing how we take the turns and what we can do to be faster the next time we go out.
There's high-speed turns and low-speed turns, so your car should be able to handle all of it and handle it on a consistent basis. If you miss one spot, you're done.
And when you have a car that'll pull 3 Gs and take turns at up to 135 miles an hour here, you can't pay attention to anything else but the track and what's in front of you.
My goal is to win the championship this year, is to win the whole thing. I won half the race center last year, and hopefully I can do the same thing this year and pull the championship off.
I would say we root as a team. We want both of us to be 1 and 2. And it'd be nice if we alternate every once in a while, unless I'm winning all the time. So.
Can you interview my wife now? Yes.
She keeps saying no.
Yes, so I said no, and you still kept on doing it.
I don't care.
Are we good now? We've talked long enough.
No, stop.
God, she won't let me quit.
You can be done. See, it's so painful.
That was painful.
You did fine.
I mean, I'm not used to having my clothes on in front of the camera, honey.
Is that intimidating to be a female in a sport that's maybe dominated by male?
Maybe for some, definitely not for me. Once I put a helmet on, I'm no different than any other person out there. I have to take it easy on the start because I don't have full funding for the whole season, so I have to be really careful. If I wreck a car, that can be the whole season for me. I think my best advantage that I have is I'm really hard at braking, so I really like to go past on the inside and brake really hard and stick it into the corner. When I was only 9 years old, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, which is a chronic pain disorder. So pretty much since then, and since I started racing, I'm trying to align those two things and use racing as a way to bring awareness to chronic pain as a whole, as well as fibromyalgia. So it's something that will be with me my whole life. The main symptoms are widespread pain, fatigue, muscle weakness, which is definitely a huge key in racing. So I have to make sure to keep my muscle strength up in the gym, so I'm as prepared as possible, so I don't let it be a disadvantage to me.
Fine line between that turn, 16 and 17, the last 2 turns. The fine line between perfect and what happened to me. Well, this is qualifying 1, so this is for tomorrow's race. It was the 4th lap, so that's tires are warmed up, pressured at that point, so that was to be my qualifying lap or my fast lap. I had no traffic, so once you drop a wheel in that wet grass, you're just on for the ride. So yeah, it was a very soft hit. We were 10 yards from not having any damage, and I just couldn't quite keep it off the wall. So
Nonetheless, it shakes you a little bit, doesn't
it does, yeah. It's more your pride than anything.
I went a little too much on the apex on the left side. It took the aero out of the car because it lifted it up. And when I get to take the right apex, there was no more downforce, so the rear end of the car came out loose, but wasn't able to get it back on track in the right direction. It went off the grass, and it's so slippery and muddy right now over there, there's no way it was going to stop. So. Yeah, went back, watched the video, what did I do wrong, and yeah, how can I take it next time so it doesn't happen again. But it's too bad because I had you know, a good track time and a good line and everything else, but that one mistake, trying to push a little bit harder, and just took the first turn a little bit too early. It threw me off for the second turn and threw the car out the track. So
you put it behind you as fast as you can. The first thing I like to do is to go back and watch it from an analytical standpoint, understand what I did, get a confirmation about that from Tonis, my coach, and so I understand what the mistake was, and then try not to repeat that.
Stay positive. Tomorrow's another day. Yes, we'll make it happen.
These cars typically have 3 Gs of cornering and 4 Gs of braking, and that's the max that they will do with this aero. The car weighs 1275 with me in it, 1,275 pounds. With the aero, at speeds above 150 miles an hour, it's 2,000 pounds heavier than that. So there's a lot of downforce on the car. Anything that disturbs that suddenly, such as what I did there, suddenly the car is relaxed off its suspension and the game's over at that point.
It's a learning experience. You stop learning, you start dying. Right? You stop doing, you start dying. That's a life lesson. You have to be engaged. To be engaging, you have to be engaged. And that's what this is all about. There's a great team around us. I mean, the driver's just a nut behind the wheel, they like to say. These guys make it all happen. My car got a little banged up just a little while ago. They'll have it ready in an hour, right? So there's a lot of work that goes into it behind the scenes, and I hope you guys learn a lot about that, because they're really the ones that make it happen. We get to have all the fun.
Once you get started with open wheel cars, I think it's hard to get that out of your system.
Besides the Grant brothers on the front row, the story we'll be following is Spencer Brockman and Peter Portante, both having problems in qualifying starting from the back of the field. So they will be drivers to watch as we get ready to go for 22 laps and a 40-minute time limit for the Atlantic Championship Series here at Virginia International Raceway. The cars are coming up out of Hogpen, headed towards the start-finish line. Starter Phil Jaraminski likes the looks of the lineup. Green flag at the ready. Chris Ash in the 67, lagging just a little bit at the start, but the Grant brothers with a good jump from the front row. Getting into single file formation down into turn number 1. It will be the 29 of David Grant with the lead through turn number 1. His brother Keith Grant at the number 42nd as they head towards NASCAR Bend. NASCAR now moving towards the left hook for the first time. David Grant jumping onto a quick lead here in the 29. These Atlantic Championship Series cars capable of laps down in the 1-minute 42-second range for the full 3.27-mile circuit here at VIR. Topping out over 150 miles an hour on the backstretch. Looks like Peter Portante is on the move. Portante, as remember, started from the tail end of the field in the Guinness number 24. He is now going to go around Bob Corliss to take over 6th position. So the battle is for 3rd between Grillo in 15 and Zober in 66. Then it's Portante in the Guinness 24. Portante, a former oval track racer, did Formula 1600 last year, stepping into the winged cars for the first time this year. In fact, this is his first start in an Atlantic Series car. He was among the leading qualifiers for this race. Then the car came up underweight going across the scales following qualifying, so he was relegated to the tail end of the field. Peter Portante continues to fly right along. He is going to go by Jenna Grillo as the cars complete lap number 3 of this 22-lap Atlantic Championship Series race. So the youngster out of Plainville, Connecticut in car number 24, Peter Portante, now up to 3rd, also with fastest lap of the race at 1-minute 44.930. If he can continue to gain a second a lap on Keith Grant, he will be in a position to battle for 2nd, but that is a tall order. Peter Portante getting the gap now down to 1.7 seconds. Portante trying to catch Keith Grant, meanwhile, as they are now back in the snake section of the racetrack, the area that leads them up to Oak Tree. Portante right under the rear wing of Keith Grant's going to try and get a look, and he'll make the pass as they go through the snake. An unusual spot to make a pass, but Peter Portante boldly moving by Keith Grant in the number 40. So Peter Portante now up into 2nd place. Peter Portante officially into 2nd place on lap number 16. Looks as though the pace car is coming out. So we are going to go to a full course caution. Something of a mixed blessing here for Peter Portante. He will hope that they are able to get a restart on this race. because he will be able to close right up onto the back wing of David Grant. So that margin that Grant had built up is now going to be erased. But all eyes up at the front of the field. David Grant now facing the challenge from Peter Portante as we are ready to go back to green flag racing for the Atlantic Championship Series here at Virginia International Raceway. Evenly matched restart between Grant and Portante. Keith Grant in the picture as well. Portante looks to get to the outside down into turn number 1, gets crowded there by David Grant as they both slip and slide a little bit. That opens the door for Keith Grant. So talk about a change of fortunes. Keith Grant saw second place slip away as Peter Portante caught him. Then with Portante and David Grant going side by side and slipping wide in turn number 1, the number 40 car has the door opened and moves into the lead. And now Keith Grant trying to make hay while the sun shines, trying to pull away from his brother David and Peter Portante. David Grant looks to be making up a little bit of ground on his brother Keith. Peter Portante a couple of car lengths back on David Grant as they make the final climb towards the top of the roller coaster. The brothers from Tennessee looking to make it a 1-2 finish here. Keith Grant up out of Hogpen for the final time. The checkered flag is at the ready. Keith Grant takes the win in the Atlantic Championship Series here at Virginia International Raceway. His brother David Grant, 29, will come home in second. Peter Portante in 24, a strong third place run. Rich Zober, Lee Alexander, and Lewis Cooper round out the top 6.
Yeah, it's the fastest thing I've ever driven by far.
Oh, the caution came out, and then when the caution came out, the gap I got in the first 3/4 of the race disappeared. So that's what happens as part of racing. And then Peter and I went deep into one, and we were not going to let each other pass, and he snuck by on the inside. That's what happens.
If you had just braked earlier, this wouldn't have been a problem.
So a little bit of teamwork, and but no, we David and Peter went side by side into one. They locked it up, went wide. I tucked inside. We were 3 wide at one point, and was able to hold them off for the win. It went really well.
I did more work than you. You led the whole time. That's not true, because you wouldn't have gone off either.
How do you feel about going into tomorrow?
Oh, I'm going to win, just like I was going to win today.
Yeah. All right.
Anybody who thinks a racer is not an athlete, they've never driven a race car. It's work. And G-forces are, incredible. These cars have underbodies and wings and all things that are made to stick it on the ground. Well, we're trying to throw it off the ground. And the real key is to find that edge just before the car is out of control. And the really great drivers are those who have that feel and can keep that car right on the edge of adhesion just before it becomes undrivable. And that's when it's going the fastest. Uwe, I've only known for 30 some odd years. And he had seen Spencer drive, and Uwe said, well, Spencer's good enough, we should put him in an Atlantic car. And I said, whoa, that's crazy. And I said, it's also very expensive. And he said, I've got an old car. I'll put that car together for Spencer. You put a motor in it, and we'll go racing. And voila, here we are.
We come to the track with a 1-car trailer. It's just me, my dad, and Uwe. And we work all weekend. We try to show that we can hang with those big budget teams, and that we want to come to the track and prove that this car can be as fast as those other ones. And it's definitely a big challenge, but I do love it.
I'm here with my son. We're racing in Formula Atlantic, professional racing series. And we're just seeing how we're going to do.
My dad is a huge influence to my whole entire career. He started racing at about 16, but he raced for 45 years, and he knew a lot of cool people. He did a lot of cool racing, and he's never pushed me to be a race car driver.
Because if you want to do it, then you'll do it well. If you don't want to do it, you won't do it well. It's as simple as that. I have many roles, one of which is probably Spencer's biggest problem. I'm his crew chief and his sponsor, so both of which are, that's an issue.
As far as how long I would be racing cars, it's always just been something I've enjoyed doing. Do it to also promote some of the brands that we represent in our business.
I own a company called Robert Talbot. Robert Talbot is a premium menswear brand. I'm chairman, CEO of the company, so I have a day job, and it's a private company. It's been in business since 1950. It started as a tie company, and now we make everything except for race suits.
When you're running your business, things are always happening. You can't afford to look back. When you're out on the track running the race car, things are always happening. Someone spins out in front of you, you either hit them or you miss them. If you miss them, you don't have time to reflect on it. You're coming to the next corner at 150 miles an hour, so you just move on.
I use the same principles in business as I do in racing. It's preparation, training, laying out a plan, executing the plan. All of those things have a great application to business as well. You know, things happen for a reason. They don't happen just because. In 2015, we had 135 million impressions in the marketplace, which is staggering, right? I can't say it was all motorsports, but motorsports ignited something in people's mind because, and it was noticeable because people, it's an interesting connection, right? So it gets to be a story about the car, about racing, about the driver, about the company.
So my ultimate goal is to be an Indy 500 and hopefully be a full-time IndyCar driver. So we're pushing really hard right now. Hopefully we'll be able to get things in line to make that happen. Ever since I started karting, I have a little handshake I do with my dad before we go out.
My nervous time is usually when I'm about 5 minutes from getting in the car, and you know, that's when I'm going to be butterflies, and that happens at every time I get in the car.
Focus, the biggest thing every time before I go on track, my dad says, just focus.
As I'm sitting on the false grid, I'm trying to relax and think about the things that we've discussed that I want to accomplish on this session.
And now let's meet the starting lineup for round 2 of the Atlantic Championship Series. David Grant and Peter Portante will be on row number 1. Yesterday's winner Keith Grant and Rich Zober on row number 2. Jenna Grillo and Spencer Brockman make up row 3. Field forming up as they will move towards the start-finish line. All of the drivers starting to pick up the throttle as we are ready to go racing here at Virginia International Raceway. Starter Phil Jereminski puts the green flag in the air, and the field accelerates towards turn number 1. David Grant in the 29 will lead the way. Peter Portante, the 24, trying to look for some racing room as they head down into turn number 1, but they'll go single file through there. Grant in the 29, Portante 24. Third car in line there is the black and yellow number 40, that's Keith Grant. Now through NASCAR Bend. Getting back to the leaders. Through the Snake. Now into South Bend. Another little rise that will take them to Oak Tree. Oak Tree, the farthest point from the start-finish line here at Virginia International Raceway. There's Jenna Grillo in the 15, followed by Spencer Brockman in the 34. And the bright green 66 is Rich Zober. Race leaders now accelerating down the long backstretch here at Virginia International Raceway. Picking up the race leaders as they head towards Hog Pen, the final corner up out of Hog Pen. Down into turn number 1, Portante continuing to pressure Grant. David Grant in the 29 with the lead, but Peter Portante now putting the pressure on. He has gotten within a couple of car lengths as they come out of NASCAR Bend and head towards the left hook. Climbing towards Oak Tree now. Portante doing his best to reel in 29 David Grant. David Grant still with the lead, but here's where Peter Portante made up ground on the last lap, and he does so again as they accelerate Oak Tree and now onto the backstretch. A lot of turbulence in the wake of the David Grant car. Peter Portante looking for an opportunity here. Will he go to the inside or the outside? Headed towards the final run through roller coaster. Portante alongside of Grant. He's going to squeeze through right as they get to the top of the roller coaster. Now David Grant chasing Peter Portante. Portante in the 24 making that pass right at the last moment. Not too many opportunities left for David Grant as they come up out of Hog Pen. All three cars accelerating towards the start-finish line. Portante trying to hang on. David Grant chasing. Keith Grant in third as they come across the line to win. To Peter Portante in number 24. David Grant, 29, will take second, and third to the number 40, driven by Keith Grant. Congratulations to Peter Portante, just his second time in an Atlantic Series car as he picks up the victory. This is David Grant. David, a good turn of speed, but not quite enough right at the end.
No, it wasn't. Peter got a great run on me on the back straightaway, drafted all the way down the back and pulled out, and there's nothing I could do about it. So, great weekend. Not happy with the results. I wish I would have won it, obviously, but the car was great. The car got faster as the session went on. The lap times picked up. I heard I might have had a new track record, which is a good sign. So it's encouraging. So thanks to Polestar and the whole team and my family for letting me do this.
That is our second place finisher, David Grant. Let's bring our winner in here out of Plainville, Connecticut. Driver of the number 24, Peter Portante, second race in the series, and you pick up a win.
Made it a lot easier than myself not starting last, so that's always beneficial. But no, I'm happy to bring home the win. That was good. That was tough racing with the Grant brothers. Like, it's aggressive, but it's clean. There's 12 wheels here in Victory Lane, so you can't really do much better than that. So it's not really hard. You can put a monkey in that car and go fast.
It's a great day. Every day I'm upright, it's a great day. Why not?
Just to be able to be involved in the racing community for the rest of my life and, make a living, be happy, surrounded by the tracks that I love, the people that I love. So my end goal would just to have a career in racing.
It's infectious. Racing it just gets in your blood.